Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. Follow us on Twitter at Boink Studios and check out our Facebook page where you can see all of our projects, past, present, and future. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 37 of the podcast, and if you're joining us today for the very first time, we say welcome aboard. If you're coming back for a repeat visit, we say, hey, thanks for coming back. And to all of those involved, we extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and a hearty handshake. Thank you for listening. Thanks for your support. Thanks for reading. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. Now that we have the obligatory blazing saddles and tombstone references out of the way, we are ready to begin. If you notice the new music there at the intro, I have to give a shout out to a good friend of mine, Goose, also known as Philip Fender, the man I've known as Goose for 15 plus years now. And no, don't ask me how old I am. It's none of your business. But Goose put that little ditty together for us, and we're really happy with it. And he's doing some work for us on another podcast that is going to take place very soon. Just keep up to date with me on Twitter and Facebook and all that good stuff. And Boink Studios is moving ahead, and that Boink Studios, of course, is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, the program you're now listening to. And the second show, which is going to hit the airwaves, I'm hoping within the next 2 to 3 weeks, give or take, and that's going to be Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour, featuring myself and a great friend of 20 plus years, actually a lot more than 20. We sat down one day and tried to do the math. And it's depressing because we're pretty old. So can I just be honest with you? We're going into the realm of 30 years as best friends. It's insanity, man. It's pure insanity. But we should have fun on the podcast. I'm looking forward to it. Kyle's the illustrator and I'm the writer, and that's the way it's always been with us. Kyle is currently working on a logo for the podcast. We've got the music, thanks to Goose, who has put that together for us. The intro has been recorded. All that's left now is to get that illustration rolling and get it put together. And then, hey, just start recording some funny stuff, man. That's what we want to do. And so again, if you're interested, and hopefully you are, to all my loyal listeners out there, I'm going to promote that sucker when it starts happening. So I hope that you will join us for that, because it should be a fun time. So for those of you out there that enjoy the Main Event, hopefully you'll get something out of the Comedy Action Hour as well. And yes, I came up with that name. I love it. I'm enthralled with how cool it sounds. So we will press on. Let's go ahead and get to the show. The subject of today's main event is Survivor Series and the WWE World Championship. Folks, Survivor Series is coming up, and depending upon when you listen to this particular episode, it may have already happened, maybe you're still a few days away, but it's right around the corner. It's on November 22nd, which is actually it's like a really, really big deal, because November 22nd is actually the anniversary of the assassination of JFK. Which I'm a big JFK assassination buff and always have been. I did a paper on it in high school and later on in college. And it's something that had always intrigued me, not just as a writer, but as someone that appreciates history, but also as an American. It's very intriguing stuff. If you ever have the opportunity to pick up a book or two, and there's millions of books on the JFK assassination out there, But Jim Garrison wrote a tremendous book, and Jim has been slapped and blasted over the years for having an agenda or whatnot. But Garrison was the New Orleans district attorney who brought the one and only trial in the murder of JFK, and the guy was there. He didn't learn all this third hand. He was there. He was part of it. So for anyone to blast his level of knowledge or whatever, it always was a little ridiculous to me. But it's called On the Trail of the Assassins, one of my all-time favorite books. So I highly advise you checking that out. But yes, it's the 52-year anniversary of the assassination of JFK. Crazy stuff. Just coincidence. You have WWE Survivor Series happening on the same day. And it should be good. I'm looking forward to this because we will get a brand new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. As we all know, Seth Rollins went out with injury. Unfortunately, the guy that was the top title holder in WWE went out, tore his knee all to pieces in a match against Kane. And first of all, no one wants to see anyone get hurt. And I've known and debated fans over the years who didn't like particular wrestlers, who didn't care for particular guys, who thought that so-and-so, wasn't a good worker, he wasn't, one of the best or whatever, and he didn't like him as a person or whatnot, on and on. But I don't recall ever being in conversation with someone who wished physical harm. I think if you wish physical harm on a talent in the ring, then you're probably not really a fan, and really you should just sort of go away because you're kind of wasting my time and everyone else's. Terrible stuff to hear people say things like that. And I'll be honest with you right now, for as much grief as Seth caught, and Seth didn't really catch a lot of things personally, but Seth caught grief because of the booking, okay? Because Seth was booked pretty weak at times, depending on how many people you wanted to believe and wanted to listen to. But Seth, to me, is really being missed right now. His presence is truly being missed. And, honestly, I'm one of the guys that misses him. I was one of the guys that was sort of sticking up for him through his entire title run. I mean, from almost day one, you had sort of two opinions. One opinion was, well, he's very good in the ring. Oh my God, he's so good. He's so talented. He seems to only be getting better. His ring psychology is there. His pacing is amazing. He can work with anyone in the locker room. But then part two of that was, oh my God, they're booking him to look like an idiot. No one seemed to remember the fact that Seth was a heel. Seth was the top heel when he was active. Now that top heel status kind of falls to Triple H, which I think that could be changing relatively soon. We're going to get to that a little bit later on in the show here. But Seth did an outstanding job. So you can't sit here and talk about the fate of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship without first acknowledging the work that Seth Rollins did. Here was a kid that was handed the world and told, guess what? You're going to slide in and you're going to affect the outcome of Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31, and you're going to walk away with the championship belt. I mean, just imagine being Seth Rollins in that role. Now, is Seth, starstruck? Is he, oh my God, this is massive for me? I'm sure there was some of that, but dude, when you worked as hard as he has during the course of his entire professional wrestling career, not just his WWE career, then you have to believe on some level that Seth's reaction to that knowledge, to that information of him getting the title and getting pushed up was, listen, I appreciate the shot. I'm going to give it everything I have, and I'll make you proud. Not one of, oh God, I'm in over my head. What am I doing? This is crazy. I don't belong here. Not Seth. Seth proved straight up that he is ready, that he was ready. And hopefully when he does come back, unfortunately he's going to miss Mania, which is a real shame because no one wanted to have that happen. I, along with many, many other fans out there and writers as well, believed it was going to be an all-Shield main event. You're going to see Seth Rollins defend the championship against both Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. But here we go, folks. A nice little segue. Let's talk about Dean. Let's talk about Roman for just a moment. if we can. Dean and Roman are both going to be featured at Survivor Series in Survivor Series finals, quarterfinals, semifinals. One of those finals matches to crown the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. On one side, you have Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens. On the other side, you have Roman Reigns versus Alberto Del Rio. Now, I like both matches. I like both matches a lot. There was a lot of stuff being said about Roman going over on Cesaro Monday Night Raw. If you didn't see Roman going over on Cesaro, shame on you, okay? I like Cesaro as much as the next guy. I'm going to tell you right now, if Cesaro looked like Roman, there would be no debate over why Roman's not farther up, or in other words, should he be as far up as he is? There would be no debate. Roman would have the belt right now, okay? If Cesaro looked like Roman, let's twist that back. If Cesaro looked like Roman, had Roman's look, then no debate. Cesaro would flat out be one of the top guys right now. Straight up. Okay? But Roman has always been missing something. Cesaro has always been missing something. But you put those two guys together, and man, what a match they had on Raw. Am I right? What a great match they had on Raw. And I'm going to be honest with you right now. Before the match even started, before the bell even rang, okay, I waited and I said, you know what? This is going to be the match of the night. Now, why did I know that? Because I'm this pro wrestling writer that spends all his days and nights analyzing the business. No, of course not. I knew it because I'm a fan. Okay? Pure and simple. I'm a fan who knows what he's watching. And I knew that as a fan and as a guy that covers this stuff quite a bit, I knew that Cesaro was going to give Roman a good match. More than good, a great match. Hard for me to use the word great. You know, the word great is reserved for Shawn and Taker. The word great is reserved for Steamboat and Flair. And it's really, really hard for me to use the word great. But it was borderline a great match. It was very, very well done. And I knew before the bell rang that Cesaro was going to give Roman just probably one of the best matches he's ever had, either on TV or probably in his career. In my opinion, that match maybe should have happened at Survivor Series. I'm going to be honest with you. And, I mean, it was that good. Straight up, it was that good. But here's my thing. Here's my take on this. And again, Cesaro's missing something. Cesaro is missing charisma. I've written this column before, a couple of times in the past, and it's never been personal. It's never been anything to slight anything Cesaro has accomplished in his career or to slight how good he is in the ring, because Cesaro is one of the best hands they have. In my opinion, the top three best hands in that company were Seth, then Dolph, and they close second, third, Dolph and Cesaro. Now that Seth's out of the picture, there's absolutely no reason why Cesaro can't be considered the top hand in the company. He's that good. He's that good. And you knew from the moment the match started with he and Roman. First of all, I'm glad they gave them time to work. They deserved it. But you knew from the moment the match started by the way Cesaro set the pace. It was the lockup. The classic old school lockup, shifting around the ring, trying to get the upper hand, trying to get the advantage, the balance of power, back and forth and back and forth. The classic give and go, the catch as catch can, as the guys say. But the catch as catch can wrestling, which is, you know, it's well paced, but it's very dynamic. It's methodical, but it makes sense. It's a very logical approach. It feels more like an actual match, an actual physical contest instead of a staged performance, you know, versus two guys who skip the lockup and start throwing drop kicks and forearms and, you know, moonsaults 20 seconds into the match. You know, that stuff can make for some good pop and whatever and get the crowd amped up. But as an old school guy, and you guys know I am, but as an old school fan, as an old school writer, as all of the above combined, I prefer the old style match. Now that's not to say that I don't pop off the fast paced stuff myself. I do. But I like Flair versus Steamboat. In fact, on the TV right now is Steamboat versus Flair on Rivalries on WWE Network. I'm not plugging the network. I'm just saying it's only $10 a month. What are you, cheap? You blow $10 a week on something, don't you? Come on, you blow $50 a month. Why don't just blow $10 a month on a pro wrestling channel? Come on now. Are you a fan or aren't you? But no. To me, a well-paced match, well wrestled from start to finish. Flair versus Steamboat, that old school, the lockup, the testing, the strength, the back and forth, and the ropes. The ref calls for the break. They go back to the lockup, side headlock, the classic spot number 1, shoulder tackle, crossover, hip toss. I mean, just the classic pro wrestling match, which is what Cesaro gave Roman. It reminded me a lot of when Shawn Michaels wrestled John Cena on Raw, because at the time I thought it was John's best match that I had by far that I had ever seen, and I wrote the column the next day. Actually, I said this was John's best match, and it's thanks to Shawn, because it's very, very obvious when you take a guy that is maybe not to the talent level of Steamboat or Flair, and the ability to go in the ring and have that psychology. When you take that guy and you pair him with a Flair, a Steamboat, a Cesaro, a CM Punk, a Triple H, guys who have a history of lifting the opponent up and making him look really good, and it's obvious, like, oh my God, John had the best match. Yeah, but look who he worked. And Roman had a great, Roman did, but look who he worked. Now, is that to discount what John does in the ring? No. Is that to discount what Roman has done in the ring to this point? No. In my opinion, Roman has gotten very, very good. I think he's incredibly fine-tuned. He's a lot better than he was at WrestleMania and before Mania, in my opinion. And I think there's subtle differences to his game that he has changed, that he has tweaked to make himself better. His ring psychology is better than it used to be. And I think he's grown into the role. Is he the top guy? We can debate that all day long, and we have, and we probably will always will. John's still breathing. And not that we wish anything bad on John, mind you, but as long as John has a pulse, he's the top guy in that company. I think, in my opinion, and I've always said this, in my opinion, WWE and John Cena would need to have a massive falling out. And I mean a massive falling out. It would have to be, John gets caught smoking crack in the bathroom, or Vince is caught in bed with Nikki Bella. And even then they'd have a field day with that, wouldn't they? They'd have a field day with anything. Take it all and put reality on TV and make it storyline. But something massive would have to happen. John would have to show back up to work from his break saying, I want $1 million more a year. It had to be something massive for that company to part ways with John Cena. Or John would have to have a career-ending injury. He'd have to have an injury like Edge, where he's told, dude, if you work again and get dropped on your head or on your back or on your shoulder, you're done. Straight up, wheelchair done. And so as long as that's not the case, and again, all due respect to John, we wish nothing bad on him. But until something like that, God forbid, were to happen, a contract dispute, injury, whatever it is, okay, he's not going anywhere. And anyone that wishes he would needs to grow up and get a clue, because it's not happening, okay? So is Roman the next top guy? I've said, and honestly, I can't say I was the first guy to believe it. I can't say I was the first guy to say it. But I was one of the first guys that I knew of at the time that was saying it. Maybe there was some writer somewhere that I wasn't familiar with, some column, some website that I had not read, some gossip from inside WWE that supposedly, was coming out that I was not aware of. But I don't recall seeing anywhere on any level where it was being said, you know what, I think Roman's the next guy. I think people were alluding to that in terms of, wow, he's got a great look, and wow, man, he's ferocious in the ring. Because at the time, he wasn't catching a lot of grief. You know what I mean? This was pre-Daniel Bryan. This was pre-everything. This is post-Shield breakup when Roman started having good matches and started really getting over. And fans were all about him. You know what I mean? And that was working. I mean, he was popping the house everywhere they went. But do I think he's ready right now? I mean, honestly, I don't think he is. That's my opinion. He's light years better than he was. You can check out my latest column for Bleacher Report, which is Roman Reigns' growth should not be rushed due to the gap in the main event scene of WWE, and which is 100% true. Because, why rush it? Why do that? Why, Seth's out. All these guys are injured. All these guys are out. Cena's taking a break. We got to do something. Roman, here's the belt. Here you go. Do I think it's going to happen at Survivor Series? Well, Roman's facing Del Rio. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a good match. Is he going to get the belt that night? I don't know. We can talk about that a little bit later. But going back to the Cesaro versus Roman match from Monday Night Raw, I think that Del Rio is going to give Roman just as good of a showing, if not better. I think after this match, fans are going to be saying, dude, I thought Cesaro versus Roman was good. This is going to be a lot different match in tone. It's going to be a good match. I think it's going to top Cesaro versus Roman. If it doesn't top, it's going to come really, really close. But it's going to be a lot different in tone because Del Rio is not the finesse worker that Cesaro is. Del Rio is more smash mouth. He's skilled and he's talented and he's got the technical ability. And I love Del Rio's work in the ring. I keep hearing people, kind of blast him. If you want to blast Del Rio for his character or the pairing with Zeb that doesn't make a lot of sense to you, I'm okay with that. If you want to blast his booking, I'm okay with that too. Don't blast his work. Because Del Rio, especially the stuff he had done recently in Lucha Underground before he came back to the company, was really good. I mean, he had matches with John Morrison that were just off the charts good. And, gave Morrison all he could handle, make Morrison look good. Morrison helped and did his part. So Del Rio, when put to the test, can turn in a really good match. And I think that Del Rio at some point is being told, just like I think Cesaro was being told, and maybe not the typical, listen, this kid's our next guy. You got to get out there and make him look good. I don't think there's anything like that happening. You know what I mean? That's very cliche. It's kind of, what a fan would write. Nothing wrong with being a fan, by the way. But that's what a fan would come up with. I don't know that it's anything of that nature. But I think the understanding is there that what they want Roman to become, what he is right now, what they want him to become in the long run. And honestly, I think that Del Rio is going to be one of those guys that is going to help Roman get to where the company wants him to be. And I think this match in particular is going to be looked back upon as being one of Roman's best. Now, you're asking me, Tom, how can he have two back-to-back matches of the caliber that you believe that this match will be, and perhaps face his best friend Dean in the finals, and perhaps go over on him, or perhaps come close, but not win the championship? Well, good question. And that leads us back to prediction time, because it's an event. I can't call it a pay-per-view. We keep calling it pay-per-view. Whenever I write a column, I keep referring to it as pay-per-view, but I'm trying to switch that up because now I just want to call it a wrestling event on the WWE Network, because what else am I going to call it? You know what I mean? Honestly. But, do I think Roman is going to win the championship that night? Number one, I think yes, Roman is going to beat Del Rio. I would be surprised if he did not. Would I like to see Roman versus Kevin Owens in the finals? You better believe it. I want a classic heel versus babyface. The only problem I have with that is that Owens is over. Owens is so over that fans look at Owens and they cheer, and they see a guy that they like and that they respect. In my opinion, Owens needs a classic heel moment. Owens needs to heel out like nobody's business. Owens needs a moment in the ring where he is undeniably heel. He's done everything in his power to make you hate him. He's an old school heel. He's a bully on the playground. He's that one friend you have that's not really your friend. Like you don't want to push him too hard, and he probably, like if you needed $20, he probably wouldn't give you $20. But if you were on the playground and you got in trouble with somebody kind of picking on you, you kind of feel like Kevin would fight your fight for you. You know what I'm saying? So he's that kind of guy. Like you can't really trust him because he's kind of a jerk. But at the same time, you look at it and say, well, he's got that personality. And it's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when Owens turns face. Dude, he's going to be big. He's going to be so big because it doesn't change much. The differences between CM Punk being heel and being face, there's not a lot because Punk plays up to the crowd. He played up to the crowd as a heel and a face. But as a heel, he just cursed them. You know what I mean? As a face, he was smiling at them. So there's the differences are, in some ways, are subtle to some fans, and other fans, it's like, oh, dude, it's night and day. You can't compare the two. But to me, Owens' gimmick, his character, is very similar to Punk, very similar to Rollins. Well, maybe not Rollins, but Ambrose at least, in which it could just go either way. In which, one day he's hot, next day he's cold. So I think if and when the time comes that Kevin Owens turns face, it's going to be big for that dude. And I hope that he gets over as a top heel. So yes, I would love to see Kevin Owens being portrayed as the top heel of the match, as the top heel of the night, facing off in a match against Roman Reigns, as who should be portrayed as the top face of the night. I'm all for it. Number one, it's risky because if the crowd decides to turn on Roman, as they always do, then Kevin's going to get cheered. No one wants that. Dude, I'm going to tell you something right now. For anyone out there who really believes that WWE is okay with the fact that John gets booed, you're fooling yourself. For anyone out there who believes that WWE is okay that Kevin Owens gets cheered over Roman, you're fooling yourself. If I'm wrong, then why does the company edit in crowd noises for SmackDown tapings to get Roman over as a face? Are they doing something wrong? Should they not do that? Oh, they affected the sound. They're fooling people. They're not going to fool me. No, morons. They do that because they want everyone watching the product at home to pull for Roman. They don't want you pulling for the other guy. They don't want you cheering the heel. Dude, it's heel versus baby. Good versus bad. The whole thing. Night versus day. It's got to be that difference, the black versus white, the whole thing, the whole piece of it is good versus evil, right versus wrong. It's the classic, the cowboy versus the outlaw, the sheriff versus the outlaw. It's the classic Western. It's classic everything. The majority of movies, TV shows, comic books feature the premise of right versus wrong, good versus evil, morals versus hate. Any analogy you want to come up with is 100% dead on. Okay, WWE wants that. Your local wrestling promotion that puts on shows in the Armory down the street from where you live right now, they want that too. So for anyone to put forth the theory or the idea that WWE is okay with John Cena getting booed all the time, you are fooling yourselves. Honestly, and don't try to fool me because I'm not that dense. They don't want Owens to get cheered over Roman Reigns. They don't want anyone to get cheered over Roman Reigns, which, honestly, here's the problem. When you put Roman versus Dean, guess who gets cheered in that match? Therein lies the problem for WWE at Survivor Series. Okay? Because if you're not going to put Owens over on Dean, because you're afraid of Owens could split the crowd, whatever, what do you think Dean's going to do? Okay? Dean is the favorite. Now, is Dean the best talent in the locker room? No, I never said he was. Who said that? If you want to split hairs and call it down the middle and give me your opinion of who's better than who, if you really want to go that road, Cesaro is better than Dean is, in my opinion. But Cesaro doesn't have Dean's gimmick. Remember what I said earlier about if Cesaro looked like Roman? How about this? If Cesaro looked like Dean and had Dean's gimmick, forget it. To the moon. To the moon, Alice. Straight up, man. Am I right? People love Dean because Dean is not shoved down your throat. Dean looks like he just showed up and they let him wrestle. Am I wrong? He looks like he just showed up and they just let him wrestle. Dean looks like the regular guy. You know what I'm saying? That we have talked about this and talked about this and talked about this straight up. And we have talked about CM Punk's rise in WWE from the dropping of the pipe bomb, which really, really sparked his rise in the company, to everything afterward and everything in between. The everyman persona, the everyman character can never be denied. It can never be rejected. It can never be doubted as something that gets over to the moon. It's amazing how well it works. Okay? Punk had it. Dusty Rhodes had it. Stone Cold Steve Austin had it. Daniel Bryan has it. Okay? And of course, Daniel Bryan, I think Daniel Bryan's been on the record before saying if not for Punk, he wouldn't have had a shot. We all know this, right? Honestly. Because, Punk opened the door. Do you know what I mean? Punk opened the door. And I compare Punk in some ways, and I know it's kind of an odd comparison. I compare Punk in some ways to Allen Iverson because Iverson came along. He didn't look like the typical basketball player was supposed to look. He wasn't like so tall he had to duck to get through a doorway. He was tattooed up. He rarely wore a suit and tie, if ever. He didn't sound PC. He didn't really say what was believed to be the perfect thing to say all the time. He was a very emotional guy. If he was ticked off, you knew about it. If he was happy, you knew about that too. And he was able to make a huge impact on the NBA because he was himself. But he was so talented. Okay? There was no denying his level of expertise, his level of talent. He was such a good player. People called him selfish. Later on, he learned to be a team player. He was still a great scorer. But he learned that it's team first and team last, okay? Despite all the grief he ever caught. And yes, he was in it for himself. But at the same time, no one can deny the impact that Allen Iverson had on the sport of basketball. And to me, CM Punk was the Allen Iverson of WWE. Again, he didn't look like the athlete. What was it Dusty said in the Hard Times promo? I don't look like the athlete of the day is supposed to look. And that's sort of where Punk fell in. And it's so much so they didn't know what to do with him. But you couldn't deny that the guy was good. And once he opened his mouth, he was very good. He got over, okay? But it's that everyman quality that gets guys over. That's what Dean has. Out of the four left, Del Rio doesn't have it, and neither does Roman, okay? Roman comes from a pro wrestling family. He played football. He's got movie star good looks. Who can relate to all of that? Who can relate to John Cena being jacked up, looking like Captain America? Can you? I can't. And it's no disrespect to John. But John's not every man. CM Punk was. Kevin Owens is. Dean Ambrose is. Daniel Bryan is. Big difference. Where it just looks as though these guys, they just came in off the street. That's not to belittle what they do in the ring. In no way, shape, or form. It's not to belittle their roles and say that, well, all you got to do to be a pro wrestler is put on a pair of trunks. Oh, I get it, Tom. Anybody can do it. I didn't say that. You ever taken a bump in a ring? Until you have, don't accuse me of saying that, brother, because a ring can hurt. Trust me. I have so much respect for these guys. The few times I got bumped around the ring in the few years that I was actually in the business, I got tossed around. I wrestled a match or two, and took a few bumps here and there. Oh my God, hurt so bad. I mean, I would get jumped outside the ring, and I did my fair share of jumping other guys or whatever. But just all due respect, all respect in the world, mad respect to these guys and girls who are in the ring, making a difference, who are wrestling, who are putting on the best show possible, who are really getting in there, and who are giving fans their money's worth. It's amazing stuff, and it hurts like hell, just so you know. Okay? But no. But the point of all that is that the everyman quality gets these guys over. Dean has that, okay? Fans can't relate to Roman. They can relate to Dean, and it's a big deal. It's a huge, massive deal. So what's better? Is it the lesser of two evils, perhaps? You're afraid to put Owens in the last match with Roman, but if you put Dean in there, you're going to have the same thing. then what's the answer? You know what everyone's saying? Oh, we're going to put Dean over on Rome. We're going to put Dean over on Roman. Or better yet, let's have Dean turn heel. That'll solve all our problems. No, it won't. The only way you can turn Dean heel and have him actually be a true heel is to pair him up with Triple H. And didn't they just do that with Seth Rollins? Is that the right move, honestly? I don't think it is, in my opinion. Okay? And it's the only way to get Dean over as a heel. So if you wanted to do it, I guess you could. If you really wanted to be heel, it's the only way to truly heel him out is put him with Triple H and the Authority. But, because if you don't, he'll still get popped. He'll pop the crowd over Roman. As Roman's lying there bleeding his last, taking his last, it's the final scene of the movie or whatever, and the hero's been defeated, and his former best friend has turned his back on him. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? Dean's going to get cheered. Straight up. Isn't that something? That's how over Dean is and how tragically short Roman is of that mark. Now, he's closer than he was before. The column I wrote for Bleacher, I specifically state in that column that I believe that Roman has grown to the point of, levels that I believe that many fans didn't think he would ever get to. Straight up. But at the same time, that does not necessarily mean that he is ready for prime time, that he's ready to wear that 10 pounds gold. I just don't know if I believe that. You know what I mean? Because putting the belt on anyone, I don't care what your name is asking a lot. You're asking a lot of a guy to take on that much responsibility. Honestly, you are. And it's a really big deal to do that to begin with. It's nothing small, no small thing. But at the same time, you have to be sure that the guy you're putting the belt on is not only ready, but that he's mentally ready. Not just physically, but mentally, and can carry it and hold it. Was Seth ready when he got it? No. Because he had only flirted with main event status. He'd only been there a handful of times, and then suddenly he's the top guy. Well, top title holder anyway. In Cena's company, you're never the top guy unless your name is, John Cena. It's okay, I'm just saying. But suddenly you have Seth with the top championship in the industry. Forget the company, in the industry. Top championship. What belt means more, by the way? At one time, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship was light years bigger. Light years, man. When I was a kid, there was no bigger title. That title's been reduced to a secondary regional title now. I mean, they still call it the NWA World Championship. And by the way, all due respect to the whatever remnants of the NWA are actually left running the name and all that, and all due respect to the guys that have held that championship and who are holding it now, who are wrestling for it now, and who wrestle under the banner of the NWA. All due respect. But it's not what it was, and I think everyone can admit to that. The belt means something to the guys that are winning, you better believe it, because it does have a history behind it, obviously. But as far as worldwide recognition in 2015, it doesn't have that. The WWE World Heavyweight Championship, however, is the top title in the business. So do you put that on Roman? Because I'll put it to you this way. Dean is the wild card of this entire thing. He is... You can't call him the dark horse. I wanted to, but then my editor at Bleacher kind of reminded me, well, is he really the dark horse? I mean, because, he has just as good a chance as any, and a lot of fans can see him winning it. Well, you got a good point there. Maybe he's dark horse in the terms of the way the company would look at him. But, if there's another column I wrote for Bleacher, actually, if you want to check it out. Dean Ambrose is the perfect opposition for the Authority, and he is straight up. Because of all the guys that that Triple H went to on Raw, and to try to recruit to his side, he never went to Dean, which is very telling. And some fans will look at that and say, oh, that means something. Dean's going to turn heel. This is a two-parter, by the way. First part was the only way Dean can turn heel is by joining the Authority. Part two is he drops his gimmick. Okay, he becomes the cold, calculating, cocky, slick back hair, wearing a suit heel that Seth was. I don't see them doing that, honestly, because they just did it with Seth. Now, could Dean play the part? You better believe he can. Don't handcuff him or tell me that he can't, or say that I believe he can. That's not true, dude, at all. He can play the part. I just don't think the company's going to go that route. I really don't think they're going to. Just my take on it. But Dean could do it absolutely. But on the other side of it, he is the perfect opposition for the Authority. He's everything they don't want. He'd be a thorn in their side like no one's business, man. John couldn't touch the Authority. Sting couldn't bring them down in the end. Daniel Bryan should have split them wide open when he beat Triple H and Triple H's boys at WrestleMania 30. Didn't happen. Dean would be the most persistent, most annoying, the loudest, most unbearable threat that Triple H and the Authority have ever seen. Straight up. Dean would be that guy. Oh my God, it would be hilarious. It would be beyond hilarious. It'd be so entertaining. It'd be so good. It'd be so much fun. Do you know what I mean? Oh my God, so much fun, dude. Straight up, man. Straight up. It'd be so much fun. That's what I want to see. Can you imagine Dean with the title doing that? Dude, imagine Dean sliding out of Survivor Series. And I've made this joke before, and I don't know how many people appreciate it. I thought it was hilarious. But, we often compare, again, the Everyman gimmick used to be compared to Dusty quite a bit, then to Austin, now to Punk. And to Bryan now to a great extent. But comparing it to Punk, when Punk won the championship, he went home and threw it in the fridge and took a photo of it and put it on Twitter. I think it would be pretty funny, honestly, if Dean showed up on Raw after Survivor Series and they said, "Congratulations, Dean, but where's the belt?" Honestly, I think I left it in a cab. You know what I mean? And then later on, he shows up with it. Like, you could even show a cab near the parking garage and the driver, like, waving and signing an autograph. Dean signed an autograph for him. So, all right, be good. Hey, thanks for bringing it back, man. Let's do lunch. And then the cab driver drives off. Funniest thing you've ever seen. Who could pull that off? Who could pull that off and not disrespect the championship at the same time, other than Dean Ambrose? Seriously. That would be so much fun. And don't talk to me about belittling the championship for anyone out there who didn't like that idea. Oh, well, Dean, that would ruin his character because it would make people think he didn't care about being champion. Really? You're going to talk to me about that? When The Rock used to drag the championship down the ramp, literally dragged the championship down the ramp. Then he perched himself on the second turnbuckle and threw it up over his head, just about throwing it out into the crowd. And you're going to tell me that wasn't disrespectful? He dragged the belt on the ground. By the way, isn't it funny how the majority of heels, just as a sidebar, how the majority of heels wear the title and the majority of faces do not wear it? They throw it over their shoulder, or they drag it down the ramp like The Rock did. As long as I live, I'll never be able to forget those days or be able to let him live that down. Because, and I get it's his character, but dude, really? It's the top belt. You don't care any more for it than that? Like, at some point, you as a man, you as the talent himself says, I got to find a cooler way to bring this thing to the ring instead of dragging it down the ramp. You know what I mean? Come on, dude. Step up a little bit better than that. But the idea of Dean slipping out of Survivor Series, the championship, intrigues me. It's the choice that no one's thinking about. But I just don't know that it's going to happen. But what you do have are two matches that's going to lead to the finals match. And if it is Dean versus Roman, then it'll be good. If it's Roman versus Kevin, it'll be good as well. I'm up for both of them. But here's my issue. When you ask me, Tom, this is it, pal. You are on the line right now. This is your entire reputation as a writer, everything you've ever believed in and hoped for and wanted to achieve. Give me a pick. Who wins the title? I don't know. Reputation out the window, I suppose. I don't know. And I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of variables. There's the Authority's interference. There's a possible heel turn. By Roman, maybe, even. Some people are saying, which, that makes sense. You take the guy that you're trying to get over as your top face, but suddenly you just give up and turn him heel. Wow, what? Okay, who, where, why, and how, and when? I don't know, man. But there's that variable. But here's one variable that no one is talking about. Are you ready for this? Pull the phone closer. Put the earbuds in a little bit tighter. Turn the volume up. Don't worry, I won't shout. The one variable that no one can forget, and that everyone seems to be forgetting, is Sheamus. Sheamus. Remember that guy? The guy that no one on the planet wants to see win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The guy that everybody believes is stale as a 2-month-old box of crackers. Remember that guy? Remember that Sheamus that had a very good run as a babyface, but everybody gave him grief and said he was old and stale as a 2-month-old box of crackers? Even then. Remember that? Remember the guy Sheamus that everybody says he should be the Sheamus he was when they first came in to the company? Really? Because that Sheamus, if you'll recall, physically turned and ran away from the Nexus. Oh my God, isn't that good stuff? Remember Sir Robin in Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Brave Sir Robin turned and ran away. Isn't that funny? He ran away, run away. It's great. He physically ran from the Nexus. Didn't backpedal. Didn't slowly put his hands up and say, you know what, I don't want any trouble. He ran like a girl. No offense to any girls out there. Don't take that wrong. My kid's 7. He runs all the time. It's okay. I'm working on that, by the way. It's work in progress. But he ran away. And you can't sweep that under the rug. You know, he blindsided guys. Okay to do that. He was a heel, perfectly fine. Okay? But to never have the guts to do anything eye to eye, Triple H at his worst run, at his worst moment, at his most dastardly, at his most evil as the hunter, as the cerebral assassin, would look you in the eye and try to take you out. He wouldn't always clip you from behind. But Sheamus was a cowardly heel. So we want to get back to that guy, right? Oy vey. Sheamus is Mr. Money in the Bank, folks, in case you don't remember. And that means he is the incredible variable that no one on planet Earth wants to talk about when it comes to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And I believe he will be the surprise, holy crap moment of Survivor Series. I think you'll see Roman with the title hoisting above his head, and then Sheamus comes out and ruins it and takes the belt from him. Why? Why, you ask, Tom, do you believe that? Because of all the guys on that roster that could not heel out Roman, it's Sheamus. Straight up from me to you. Sheamus cannot heel out Roman Reigns. It's physically impossible. Because Sheamus has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He's not even remotely liked. There's nothing about him even funny. There's nothing about him intriguing. There's nothing about him entertaining. No one on the planet or in this galaxy wants to see Sheamus as WWE World Heavyweight Champion. If they tell you they do, they're lying, okay? They're just trying to go against the grain. And if they're not, then let me talk to them because I'm curious to see what their reasons are. Now, I will put you this way. I don't have this gigantic axe to grind against Sheamus like a good number of fans do. I'm just telling you what I see and what I believe to be true, and that is that there's no way that Sheamus is the guy that people want to see with that title. So, if you're Vince McMahon, what do? Put the belt on him. Don't give fans what they want. I'll tell the fans what they want. They want Sheamus as the champion. What, they don't want Sheamus? Well, put the belt on him anyway. They'll get used to it. They'll love him. He's going to be the top heel now that Seth's gone. We're going to give him a massive push, a push from hell. He's going to be the top heel and they'll hate him to death. No. Fans don't see. This is what a lot of people don't understand. And with all due respect, what WWE itself doesn't understand at times, being a heel, there's a difference between being hated for what you do or being hated because they don't care. Okay? People talk about the X-Pac heat. Well, that's X-Pac heat. My definition, I don't know what yours is. If you have something else, go with God. That's fine. My definition of X-Pac heat, okay, is that people didn't hate X-Pac because he was a heel. They didn't hate X-Pac for what he said. They didn't hate X-Pac for what he did. They didn't hate X-Pac for jumping guys or for sticking his tongue out. They didn't hate X-Pac for that stuff. They just didn't like him. He annoyed them. They didn't care for him. That's why they hated him. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, I've been on the record before saying any heat is good heat. We'll touch on that in a few minutes. Any heat is good heat. Okay? But X-Pac heat is something altogether different, in my opinion. Vicky Guerrero had that heat. Because it wasn't what Vicky did. She couldn't do anything. She wasn't a wrestler. And when she made matches, everyone knew the matches were already made. It was the impact that she had to get across when she made matches on TV. That's what she had to do. It wasn't Vicky's actions. It was her. Her tone. They hated her voice. So that's enough to get you over. And man, every guy in that locker room applauded her for being a great heel. And who am I to argue with guys who are busting their hind ends in the ring and getting it done all the time? Certainly not me. I'm not going to do that, okay? No disrespect to anyone involved. That's fine. But in my opinion, as a fan watching at home, I can tell you for sure, I didn't hate her because of things she did. I can tell you that I have respect for Seth, and I can see the hate that people give him because he's just so hateable. He's just so unlikable. You see what I'm saying? It's perfect. But when I saw Vicky, I didn't hate her because she was a heel. I just, oh my God, there she is again. I don't even care about this. And sometimes I'd mute the TV or turn the channel. Stephanie McMahon gives me that kind of heat. Honestly, I get that from her all the time. And it's not because she's a woman. That makes no difference at all to me. I don't feel it. I just don't feel it. You know what I mean? You know, Triple H in his prime, Ric Flair in his prime as a top heel of the company, man, gave you every reason in the world to hate him. It was up to you whether or not you liked him or fell for it, but did everything in his power to heel out. Kevin Owens is doing everything in his power to heel out. Kevin's not one of those heels that grandstands and loves the pop. He doesn't do that. Anytime he gets pop, he usually throws it back in the fan's face. He pretty much always has. So that's what I like. That's what I respect. And I can see him being heel, and I appreciate, oh my God, you're phenomenal at this. You see what I'm saying? That's going to be the closest that heels can hope to get at this point, is applause for the job they put in at being heel from a good number of the audience, myself included. And guess what's wrong with that? Nothing. You got a job to do. Get your job done. It's good stuff, and I have all the respect in the world for him for doing that. But again, Sheamus has that heat that he just annoys people. And Sheamus as a performer is one of the most roughhouse, smash-mouth brawlers they've ever had. And in a different era with a different haircut and a little bit better booking, a little bit better character development, Sheamus would be top heel, hands down. He doesn't have that. He's not going to have it. And if they give it to him at Survivor Series, you're going to see a massive outcry, a massive backlash from fans pretty much everywhere, because they're going to be like, what? Are you kidding me right now? This guy I'm supposed to hate? This guy annoys me. I don't even care that he's even around. Well, that's not being a top heel. That's being a guy that gets booed because fans are kind of sick of looking at him. Do you see what I mean? I'm not saying it's fair to him as a man. I'm not saying that at all. I've written plenty of columns taken up for the guy. I don't find him annoying at all. I like his work in the ring. I find it annoying the way people bag on him, but it is what it is. But there you have it, folks. That the final four, as it were, in the title match to crown the brand new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And who's gonna win? Don't ask me. Don't know. But if I'm pressed, if it's reputation on the line, all that stuff, I will say that I believe Roman will get his arm raised in the end. Sheamus will cash in, or Roman will be 2 seconds away from winning. Sheamus will cash in, take the belt, and once again Roman gets cheated. And all this is leading to WrestleMania 32, the night in which Roman finally wins the big one, finally wins the title. They could portray it as a year-long journey to get back to where he was, and going through all these hardships along the way, being screwed by the Authority, which is pretty much a validation of becoming the top face, by the way, is getting screwed by the biggest heel organization in the history of that company, which, by the way, have been in power now longer than the Nexus, and I'm pretty sure the first version of the NWO. It's 2 years straight now. Since 2013, we've passed the 2-year mark. Isn't that something? We passed it at SummerSlam, actually. The Authority been in power for 2 straight years. That's crazy stuff, man. Jeez, whole other podcast. I've done that one too, I believe. Wrote plenty of columns about it. Go look them up. It's good. I think they're good. Let me know what you think. We're not going to try to cover the whole card. I want to focus primarily on the championship, but let's move on to a couple of things that have caught my eye that happening in Survivor Series. One is there is going to be a traditional 5-on-5 elimination match, and as of this recording, it's unknown who's going to be involved in that match. And I'm okay with that, because honestly, it's not the guys I wanted. Because I wanted Team Undertaker versus Team Wyatt, and it did not happen. Okay? For whatever reason, it did not happen. I can't understand why. I don't understand why. There's 5 members of the Wyatt family, kids. 5 members. And I get there's only Kane and Taker, but dude, it could have been Kane and Taker and Mick Foley and Sting. And maybe Dean Ambrose. Or it could have been Kane and Taker and Foley and Sting. 4-on-4, excuse me. I just created a magical, mythical 5th member. It's like the 5th Beatle. Wyatt family doesn't need 5 guys. Or could it be a returning Daniel Bryan and coveralls and long scraggly beard again? That was just a joke. They're not going to do that. Just don't even put that thought in anyone's head. Someone will go write a column about it. $10 says there's a column right now on it. But, okay, fine. A 4-on-4, let's rewind all that, folks. A 4-on-4 Survivor Series match featuring the 4 members of the Wyatt family versus Undertaker, Kane, Sting, and Mick Foley. Those were my choices. I think it would have been a tremendous match. But it's not going to happen because now it's Taker and Kane versus, 2 guys from the Wyatt family. What? If they're smart, it'll be Rowan and Harper because they'll give the best match. But it's probably going to be Strowman and Wyatt himself. And Wyatt's part will be fine. Strowman is as green as a 4-leaf clover, man. Not his fault. He's having to get polished in front of an audience of millions all around the world watching. He has to. He doesn't have a choice. He's in the spotlight. Got to get it done, right? I'm curious to see this match because of the Brothers of Destruction. I think that's going to be a tremendous draw for a lot of fans watching this pay-per-view or watching this WWE televised event, shall I say. But I think it's going to be good, and I think that Taker's going to turn in the performance he usually does. I think that Taker, honestly, is going to enjoy having a match where he can kind of lay back a little. I'm not saying take the night off because he's not going to do that. Taker never takes the night off, folks. Not when he's on the card. But I don't think that it's not going to be Taker versus Brock again. You see what I'm saying? He can kind of lay back a little bit, tag in and out of the match. Kane will take the heat in the match, obviously. And then Taker can take the hot tag and clean house and the usual house of fire and bring the place down in flames and send Bray Wyatt straight to hell, right? Something like that. It's going to be, I'm fine with it. I like the idea. I really believe that Bray is going to be elevated as main event talent. We've kind of been saying that for the better part of a year now. Me especially, but I think it's his time. I think Bray had to start winning matches. I think Taker lost the last match, so he shouldn't lose this match, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bray pinned Kane, honestly. But I think that Taker and Kane win this match, over whatever 2 members of the Wyatt family it's going to end up being. What else we got happening in Survivor Series? This has got to be one of the most controversial things that's happened in a while. Not in terms of overall in the company, but for women's wrestling in general. Charlotte versus Paige. And with the exception of like 12 people, no one cared about this match before Raw. No one cared about this match before Raw on Monday, November 16th. Guess who cares about it now? The whole planet. Want to know why? Because Charlotte referenced her dead brother, Reed. Okay. And then the whole thing ended up with Paige taking a shot at Charlotte's dead brother, Reed. There's reports out there that Rick cried, that Rick's wife cried, or Charlotte's mom cried, and all this other stuff. And it's a very emotional time, and Charlotte got through the promo, even though it took forever to happen. Contract signing to finish up Monday Night Raw between 2 women who the crowd doesn't really care about right now. This wasn't Trish and Lita, okay? For that matter, this wasn't even Trish and Mickie James. This was Charlotte and Paige, who, quite frankly, at this point, no one really cares about. They kind of had their fill of them. They kind of had their fill of both women. They kind of had their fill of this feud, this so-called rivalry. The whole thing, which was horribly mismatched from the start. This feud was as badly mismatched as WCW in the last days. I'll go on record as saying that. I don't care who doesn't like it. It's true. You have Paige, who was straight up babyface, who suddenly cuts this promo on Charlotte the night after she won the title from Nikki Bella and heels out. But yet she didn't turn heel, but then she did turn heel. Somewhere along the way, you lost me. And I'm going to tell you right now, as an analyst, as a writer, as a guy that follows this stuff 8 days a week, all the time, when you lose me, you're lost. Because I tend to follow stuff pretty well. I tend to give this company the benefit of the doubt. And I tend to give the talent involved the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, before we blast them, let's just see how it all kind of, how it all kind of weighs out, how it all kind of comes out in the end. Let's give them time to flesh this thing out. But I knew the moment that the heel promo happened, I said, God, this doesn't even feel right. The whole thing, WWE screwed the pooch from day one on this. I've talked about it. I've wrote about it. I mean, it's been a top conversation for me for the better part of a month, and it's never going to end. But, this is one of the reasons why I didn't care. This is one of the reasons why the majority of fans, and I believe, didn't care. Guess who cares now? Everyone cares now. Everyone does. Because of what was said. The Flairs are reportedly upset. Charlotte said what she said. As of right now, this moment, I can't tell you who produced the spot. Can't tell you who put words in her mouth, or if someone did, or if it was her idea, or if Paige did. I can tell you that Paige she visibly looked as though she had a problem speaking the last line of the promo, which is when she took a shot at Reed. Okay. Now, what does Tom think about this? Thank you so much for asking. There's no such thing as bad heat. And this is a truth that if you've only been watching for a few years, or if you've been watching for 40 years, this is a truth that either you know or you are denying to this day. Okay? I didn't say you had to like it. I didn't say you had to be comfortable with it. I didn't say that it had to impress you on any level. And I didn't say you couldn't turn the channel when stuff like this happens. Never even suggested that, man. Do what you want. Go with God. It's fine with me. But the truth of the matter is, there is no such thing as bad heat. It's the truth. I don't agree with it in a lot of ways. I don't like it in a lot of ways. But I know the truth when I hear it, and that's the truth. There's no such thing as bad heat. Because for a match that no one cared about, suddenly everyone cares about it now. And if you believe that when the match takes place Survivor Series, every fan in that building is going to visibly turn their back to the match and become quiet as a church and refuse to make a sound out of a show of defiance against this match, or if the aisles are going to be filled up with people leaving their seats to go to the concession stands out of protest, or that people are going to show up with signs protesting what they said, dude, you are fooling yourself, okay? Because even the smartest wrestling writer out there can tell you that none of that stuff's going to happen. Even the dumbest wrestling writer out there is going to tell you none of that stuff's going to happen. This match has gotten attention. It's got mainstream media attention thanks to Charlotte's interview on ESPN. And everywhere in between. People are talking about this match now. People suddenly care about this match taking place, and they didn't before. And you're going to tell me that that's not good heat, that that's not okay? Folks, I'm going to tell you something right now. I compared this the moment it happened to something else that happened several years ago. Remember when Randy Orton brought up Eddie Guerrero's death and his feud with Rey Mysterio? Does anyone remember that? Does anyone remember the heat that Randy caught for that? The contempt and the hate and the disgust and all the vile and vitriol that was leveled at WWE, at Randy Orton, at Ray, at Vicky. Oh, how dare you desecrate the memory of Eddie Guerrero? Who do you think you are? It's pro wrestling. Okay? When it happened, I didn't go on the record as saying it was right. I didn't go on the record as saying I believed it was the right thing to do or that I would have done it myself. I never said that. I don't say it to this day, man. Not at all. And I won't. I won't condone it. And I won't say to you it was good. And I won't say to you it was even entertaining. But I will say this. It's pro wrestling. You don't put down a book. You don't put down a book of fiction because it references a popular or a real person's death, do you? You don't put that book down and slam the book shut and say, how dare this writer do something this way? Do you stop watching a TV show because they reference or even make fun of somebody that's died in a terrible way? Really? For the purpose of the story, of whether it was an off-color joke? Do you not go watch a movie? Do you walk out of the movie disgusted? Oh, I can't believe they would do this. It's pro wrestling. Okay? Now, there is such a thing as cheap heat, where you can't get something over, and the best you can do, the only thing you got is to take a shot that it's this cheap. You do something it's this low and it's this deplorable. And it's deplorable. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not defending anyone here. But I'm telling you right now, for those girls to get in that ring and do what they did with the material that they were working with and try to get this thing over, hats off to them. Okay? Because I couldn't have been able to do it. Dude, I lost my dad when I was 4.5. You think I could do a storyline right now where I'm letting someone make fun of him? No, it would hurt like crazy. But I'm gonna tell you right now, just so we can remind each other of what the truth is here. Number one, Reid Flair was not your brother. Reid Flair was not your son. Okay? You didn't know Reid Flair. You barely heard of the kid. You knew him from WCW. You may have seen his matches in Japan online on YouTube somewhere. You could have, well, let's go farther if you want to. You could have even been one of those guys saying, Reid's going to carry on Daddy's legacy. He's going to be the guy. As long as this kid keeps working hard, he's got what it takes. Maybe you were a fan, okay? But guess what? It's not your call to make. You can be disgusted all day long. It's perfectly fine. But people need to start taking things in perspective. You're watching a pro wrestling show expecting class. And dude, I'm the biggest pro wrestling fan you're going to meet. Anyone who's ever met me knows I'm a pro wrestling fan. Am I a WWE fan? Did I say that? I'm a pro wrestling fan, okay? Massive fan from the time that my dad was killed till right now. I mean, the majority of my life on this planet has been spent as a pro wrestling fan. I don't know any other way to be. I couldn't walk away from the business right now if I wanted to. It's physically impossible, man. I can't stop writing about it. Can't stop watching it. I can't close the book on it. And guess what? I don't want to. I'm not ashamed of what I watch, but I go into it knowing full well what I am watching. I'm watching a business that it got its start in the carnival days, okay? Got its start by lying to people, by putting on a show, by all it ever wanted was to take your money, okay? It became a play. A Shakespearean tragedy, good versus evil, betrayal, love, hate, murder, revenge, attack, all that stuff, okay? And by and large, pro wrestlers lie to you. They work you. They work you all the time. Every time Shawn Michaels perched that second turnbuckle and uses his hand to look out among the crowd and point to people and clap to them, do you think he cares who you were? Do you think he even knows you? He cares he got your money, okay? Period. Is he a bad guy for that? Absolutely not. Am I suggesting that Shawn is a jerk outside the ring? Absolutely not. But you're going to sit there and tell me that a pro wrestling show, by the way, which is all those things I just mentioned, it's the good versus evil, like the popular thing that's always been said, the male soap opera, stooping to any lows they have to. It's shock television. It's promoting violence against women. It's promoting violence to solve your problems. You got a problem with somebody, put them through a table. That's how you fix the world. You go out there and you curse people out and you flip them off. You drink beer in celebration and flip people off to their face. And you make it clear you're just there for the money. And you go out and you lie to people and you're happy about it. And they'll say anything it takes. Women will take their clothes off for you. It's debauchery personified. And I'm not talking about just the Attitude Era. I'm talking about the business in general. The whole business is at work. The whole thing is a lie. When Randy Orton looks out in the crowd and says he hates you, does Randy Orton really hate you? I don't have any idea. But do you think he really does? Do you think that Shawn Michaels loves you every time he looks at you? Do you think Roman Reigns cares if you're alive or dead? They don't care about any of that. They want your money. And guess what's wrong with that? Nothing. Don't you know how the game is played? And you expect a business like that. That sort of that old smoky arenas of the old NWA, which I love, just awesome stuff, man. Best times of business, my estimation. But you take all of that, and you take sort of that mentality. Oh, let's cut ourselves, let's bleed, let's put color in the match, let's make it believable. It's nitty and gritty, and you can't trust promoters, and you're driving one town to the next, and you're eating it's hand to mouth, $20 here, $20 there to get where you're having to go and try to make a name for yourself, and you can't trust anybody. You got to have each other's back. If you make a friend, good luck to you. Everybody's out for themselves, and you take all of that, and all a promoter wants is your money. He doesn't care about the community. He doesn't care about who your mom is. He doesn't care about what kind of fundraiser you have. He just wants his cut so he can put on a show next week and put some money in his pocket or keep doing what he loves to do. And you're going to take that mentality, all that stuff that normal everyday society has a hard time buying into if they're not raised as pro wrestling fans like me and a lot of you guys are, and you're going to take that and cram it into the confines of a PG era of a publicly traded company that's supposed to watch what you say, watch what you do, be great for kids, be role models for kids, be something good for women to watch, the whole family, go take your whole family to it, hooray, let's have fun, it's Disneyland. Right here in front of our faces, a rock concert we can all go to and have fun with. And you really think it's going to work? It doesn't work, and it never has. There will never be another company after WWE to be able to do what WWE has done, which is take a business that has no business being in mainstream everyday America and put it in mainstream everyday America. They're the only company that's ever pulled it off. So when something like this happens, the whole world collectively gasps in shock. What did she say? How dare she? It's pro wrestling, man. I heard worse stuff than this growing up 6, 7, 8 years old on TV on the NWA. I saw worse stuff when I got into the business. I heard about worse things since I became a writer. I taught the guys who have seen and heard things much more heinous than this. This is part of the world that you are subjecting yourself to. And if you have kids, you're letting your kids watch it as well. Let my kid watch it. Why? Because my kid knows going in what the deal is. I explained to my kid very early on that the business is a work. I had to, man. I can't have a 7-year-old believing you solve your problems with physical conflict. Use your heads, people. But this is the business you're subjecting yourself to, your kids to, your wife to, whoever to. Okay? And this is the business that you're allowing yourself to be sucked into every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And you're going to be appalled when something like that is said, when cheap heat is gained. No one ever bashed Mick Foley over the head for getting a cheap pop, did they? No. Who even remembers the Randy Orton, Eddie Guerrero thing? They do now because of what Paige and Charlotte did in the ring on Raw on Monday. But who'd even remembered about that until just now? Honestly. You do what you need to do to get over. And sometimes it's great and thumbs up and what a classy move. Other times it's complete garbage. Was it a garbage move what happened on Raw? Yes, it was. Does everybody care about the match now? You had better believe it. And wasn't that the point? I'm not defending, nor am I supporting. So anyone who listens to this wants to send me some hate mail. Brother, I get my fair share of hate mail. I'm just here to tell you, it's perfectly fine. I give out my email address, my Twitter account. Hey, you know what? Let's have fun. Bash me. I'll take a chair upside the head. Done it before. It hurt. But I'll take it again. It's perfectly fine. Okay? Not a problem. It's perfectly fine. But anyone that believes I'm supporting it, you are fooling yourselves. Because on the record right now, I'm telling you straight up, I don't support cheap heat. I don't. But I will tell you that there's no such thing as bad heat, because if it were bad, you wouldn't be talking about it. You wouldn't care about the match. You would be disavowing any knowledge of WWE and boycotting the pay-per-view or the WWE televised event on the network. But you're not, are you? You're not gonna do it, because you know you're not. I'm not going to. No one is. Okay. It's their family, folks. He didn't bash President Obama. She didn't bash President Obama. She didn't say anything about the murder of JFK. She didn't say anything about the death of Ronald Reagan. She didn't crack on John Lennon being assassinated. And somebody like a cultural icon we can all gather around. She spoke of her brother and her family and her reality, her world, her situation, her business. Now, did she make it our business? Of course she did. But I mean, absolutely. Does that give you the right to tell her not to say it? No, it doesn't. Okay? Get over yourselves. Straight up. Calm down. Dude, guess what happened the Tuesday after this happened on Raw? The sun came up. Okay? Which means everything was all right. And guess what's going to happen tomorrow? The sun's going to come up again. And guess what? If it doesn't, none of us will be around to even know the difference after this. So calm down. Put it in perspective. This was a cheap move in a cheap industry that uses cheap tactics to get your money. Am I putting them down? No, I'm stating a fact. Okay, I believe that pro wrestling is the one true American art form. I believe that. Do I believe there's some shady stuff and questionable tactics to get your money? Absolutely. And guess what? As a fan, I have to be okay with that. Because I'm still a fan. If I wasn't okay with that, I'd have walked away years ago. So would you. Okay? Put it in perspective. These girls were in a lose-lose situation by cutting this promo and doing this contract signing. They knew it, okay? But it's turned into a win scenario because now people care about this match. For better or worse, man, they care about this match. And really, isn't that, at the end of the day, the main objective? I'm putting it out there to you. You don't believe it. You don't buy in. You're not into it. You're not hyped to it. Brother, I spent 15 minutes over the hour length that I usually do on the show trying to convince you that you need to calm down. And look at me, I'm all riled up. Isn't that crazy? I need to have some coffee. Coffee actually calms me down. You hear these people that talk about, oh, I get so wired after 2 or 3 cups of coffee. Dude, coffee has never affected me that way. I don't even drink decaf. Isn't that odd? Why to get off on that? I'll tell you why. I'm trying to segue to the end of the show, man. I use coffee to do it. It's cheap heat, coffee is. But I did it anyway. I don't even care. So there you are. Oh, we're taking it home, man. That's what we're doing right now. The boss is tugging on his ear telling me to take it home. I hope you have fun. Hope you enjoyed the program. Let's go ahead and give you a quick rundown of who I am and where you can find me. I'm on Twitter at TomClarkBR. Be sure to drop me an email, tomclarkbr@yahoo.com. You can also find me on the Facebook. My personal account is on there if you care to go check it. It's kind of boring. It's whatever it is. But I'm also here to hype my production company along with great friend, colleague, and hetero life mate, Kyle Smith. And you can find us, Boink Studios. We have a Facebook page for Boink Studios. We have a Twitter account. Just follow us on Twitter at Boink Studios. You heard some of this information at the beginning of the program. Please keep your eyes open because Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour is coming up very, very shortly. Please keep waiting. Please keep being patient. And I'm going to feed you that information as soon as humanly possible. Please don't forget to check out my work. You can see my stuff on Bleacher Report. You can also find me on the highly esteemed Camel Clutch blog. You can find me also on Sportskeeda and on my own blog at tomclarkbr.wix.com/blog. Boink Studios will have its own its own website coming up soon. So we're really excited about that. We've got a lot of irons in the fire right now. And we hope that you will tune in and hope that you are enjoying the content that Boink Studios is giving you right now at the main event. We hope to do a lot more in the future, and we really certainly do hope that you come along for the ride. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everything that you do to help keep me going. I do appreciate the support, and I am very appreciative of every good response and negative response that we get. I'll take it all in stride. And I'll tell you right now, man, I'm looking forward to Survivor Series. Hope you are too. Going to be a good event, and let's see what happens and who gets that belt. You heard my predictions. Whether or not you agree with them, it's totally up to you, man. Everyone's got their own favorites. It's whatever, but let's see what happens. I can't wait. Big events, they just excite me as a fan. They always will. There you have it, folks. That's it for me. I'm out. Thanks a lot once again. We will see you next time. Please come back again for Tom Clark's main event.